almost 99% of you said that you had asked this question at some point in time in your life: what food is right for me? And you're not alone. We've been asking this question since the dawn of time. So, unfortunately, back in the day, Eve picked the wrong fruit from the wrong tree and the world went into disarray, right? Had we been able to help her out on what food's right for her, maybe we won't have the sins of the world that we have today. Well, then from there, you start to look at things like hunting and gathering. That was what we could catch, what we could pick up off the ground or off trees. That defined what we ate. And then about 10,000 BC, we had the agricultural revolution, where we started making stuff, and we started processing it into food. And then what happened in the modern era is this, right? Where Lord Byron, famous poet, decides, because he's trying to manage his weight, that he's going to go on a steady diet of cider vinegar and potatoes, okay? You have a letter of corpulence. I had to look up that word. That's an antiquated word for obesity. So now all of a sudden we went from trying to figure out what we're going to eat by hunting, gathering, to now we're writing letters about what do you do with an obese society, right? That industrialization kicked in, and it started to shape how we eat, what we eat, in a pretty material way. And then, of course, the last guy down at the end was like, he was writing the New York Times bestseller diet book around chew 100 times, and it's all going to work out, right? You roll forward into the 1900s. We had an obsession about losing weight. The grapefruit diet hit in 1930. That actually is still present today. It's called the Hollywood diet. But the idea is that something magical, an enzyme in grapefruit, would magically shed weight on your body. And then we go through World War II, where we go back into a quote-unquote famine state. Food was rationed, right? And this was the first time the government put out a point of view on how we should eat. So it's called the Basic 7. I love this chart, by the way. Eat this way every day. These 7 things. And then at the bottom, in addition to the Basic 7, eat any other food you want. Eat any other food you want, and make sure don't waste food. All right? So I think we've seen a history of this kind of guidance from the government. So we'll get to the future versions of that. But then we roll into the 50s. This is where technology, this is where fast food comes in. This is where convenience and taste are king. Now we're not even talking about what we're supposed to eat, but when and how. You're supposed to eat it in your car. You're supposed to eat it in front of a television, right? And of course, with every action, there's a reaction. In the 60s, Weight Watchers, one of the most prolific weight management brands in the world, was formed to kind of counteract what we were experiencing from this newfound convenience, technology, and the wonders of modern life. 1977, the first time we're drinking our food from a glass or a bottle. And that trend carries forward today. We had some friends from Soylent here yesterday doing something that's far more modernized, but still the same kind of thing. And then in the 90s and actually rolling into the 2000s, we had the low-fat, high-carb craze. How many of you experienced that growing up? Yeah, where like Twizzlers was considered to be a healthy food because it was 90% sugar but no fat. Okay, so we survived. We all survived through that, which is good news. And then the government reinforces it with the first pyramid. Okay, this was kind of what people would characterize as an overstuffed bread basket, primarily carbs with a tiny bit of sprinkling of fat at the top. And now we start to look at 1990s rolling into 2000s. Again, another huge pendulum swing from high carb to high protein, right? So now you're starting to see we're oscillating back and forth throughout history. Bring that to 2010, paleo. Now we're getting higher fat in there, it's high protein, right? It's going back to something that's more basic. As a country and as a culture, we're lost with food. So we're going back to Paleolithic days to kind of tell us what we should be eating. A new version of the plate, which is pretty much like the pyramid with just new geometry. Going into 2016, the high-fat diet. Now, how many of you are as confused as I am at this point? We've swung this way, this way, this way. and there's no real correction. And one of the things that struck me as I was putting this is dizzying just even putting this presentation together, let alone presenting it to you. But one thing that's universal across every one of these diet types is that we've looked at the issue in the wrong way. We've taken a one-size-fits-all approach as it relates to food, and subsequently we've lost what I think is almost the essential part of the guidance of how we go forward with nutrition. In 2017, we believe we're ushering in a new era that is the era of you, the era of personalized nutrition, the era that looks inward to each one of you to answer the question, what food is right for me? And I believe that the roadmap and the answers to the question live within each one of you. We just need to figure out how to tap into that and unpack what your body is telling us. The way we do that is called the science of you. This is a personalized nutrition methodology, which is called it's called systems biology. And this is based on the idea, you used to go to a doctor and you'd have someone who looked at your head, your heart, your arm, your elbow. Systems biology recognizes you're one integrated holistic system of parts. They're all talking to one another. Your DNA, your blood, body metrics, your activity, what's coming off your Fitbit is part of who you are. Your heart rate, even your gut microbiome and your metabolic function, all of these things define who you are. They make up why you're so unique, and they also are the roadmap to the kinds of food you should be eating. Now, I had a personal experience with this. So as Eric said, I was getting hardcore man points for running a baby food brand for 8 years. Prior to that, I was an Ironman triathlete, racing, all over the country, all over the world. Hung up those sneakers to, do a new kind of race, which is running a company. Roll forward 6 years later, I was 50 pounds heavier than I'd ever been in my life. I felt like I was suffering from what I characterize as CEO disease, right? Which is too much work, too much stress, too much bad food, too much alcohol, too much coffee, not enough rest, good food, sleep, working out, all the things that make us healthy human beings. And my wife, in all her infinite wisdom, held a mirror up to me, literally, and she's like, you got to go figure out your shit. So if there's no better wake-up call than that, gentlemen, I'll tell you that is it. I'd avoid it before you reach that moment. And what she ultimately gave me was a gift, which was a gift to go figure out what exactly was going on with me when I was in this state. We had a wonderful business. We had taken care of it. It had become the #1 brand in the country. And in the process, I completely let go of what it took for me to be healthy and whole. So I started reaching out to specialists, as probably people in the Bay Area do. I met the guy who was one of the fathers of the Human Genome Project, got my genome sequenced. I met some specialists in the Netherlands. I got a series of blood work done there. And then I pulled all this information back together and sat down with a functional medicine specialist with a sea of papers. And it's like, what do I do with all this stuff? And within an hour's conversation, based on my biology, we crafted a nutrition plan, and I was off to the races. 3 months later, I'd felt better than I had in years. 6 months later, I'd lost 25 pounds and had the energy to start a new company focused specifically on personalized nutrition. And that company is called Habit. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes telling you about Habit. And I think really what we're trying to do is bring the future of food to life in a very personal way, moving away from the one-size-fits-all, moving away from mass production to something that's more intimate, more personal, and more connected to each one of you. So we hope we're building the world's first personalized nutrition company, and what we believe is essential to that is not just taking an approach of doing a test and a recommendation, but really having a holistic, comprehensive set of offerings where we go from analysis with an at-home test kit to a digital dashboard of your own personalized nutrition blueprint, to coaching with registered dietitians, to fresh prepared meals customized to your biology, delivered to your door, and then a larger community that you can knit it all together with. Now, as a company, these are all activities that we do, but as Eric said, great brands, the product is just an artifact of an amazing culture and a belief system, so I want to share a couple of those with you. The first is we believe that food was never meant to be one size fits all. It's radically inconvenient for mass food and big production at scale to take the approach that we're taking, but we think it's essential for human health going forward. The second is we believe you deserve an owner's manual for your body, written in a language you actually speak. And the third, we believe food can transform lives one plate at a time. And so I'm going to get a little shamelessly California on you and talk about our goal and our aspiration, but at the end of the day, we're in the business of feeding human potential, unlocking the best of every one of you in this room to be able to live out your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations through the power of what you have inside of you. So with that, I'm going to share you a quick little video about habit, and we'll roll from there.
If you want to be your best, you need to know yourself. What makes you, you. How you're different, unique, and original. Yet every day we're told that when it comes to eating, we're all the same. Told to jump on the next food fad where one day eggs are bad, the next day they're good. But one size doesn't fit all. It's time to get personal, to get microscopic. It's time for a solution as unique as you are. It's time for habit. Habit looks at you at the cellular level, your inner workings, the blood that runs through your veins, your DNA. What makes you, well, you. Habit marries its passion for food with the science of you, designing a nutrition blueprint that only your biology craves. So you can eat better, feel better, be better, feeding the best version of you. The you with mojo, the you that's on your game, the you that's uniquely unstoppable. Welcome to Habit. Food personalized.
So I believe the future of food is here, and it just got personal. Thank you.